Okay. Hi everybody. What I'm going to show you today is much more basic than what Bruce and Andy and Marco have shown, but I still think it's just as essential when developing in Clarion. All of us, when working in Clarion, we mostly have databases, and you have to have a way to look into the database. Your program will supply an interface, but you won't necessarily see all the raw data, all the fields, settings that will not be displayed on every browse. So when I switched over from TPS to SQL, I missed something like TopScan, where you were able to open a file and have a look at it, sort it by key, search for the field, and even change it. So what I've developed is a program that I call Relational Browse. You embed it into your system, and it makes use of all the settings that's in your dictionary, because the dictionary is the start of a good program. So it uses all the settings that you've got in the dictionary already, like pictures and what type of field it is, so that you can have a proper look. And furthermore, it looks at the relations between files, and you can browse related files related to a record. So I think I'll show you a quick look at the interface. Okay, well, in this case, I've used a SQL database that I didn't create myself. It's a Microsoft example database, which I synchronized with a dictionary in Clarion, and it did a very good job of it, because it also took over the relations between the files. So they call it Wide World Importers. It's a typical program with customers and invoices and cities and people and stock items and so forth. So if I have to search for some records in, say, for instance, the customer file, I have to, in Server Management Studio, I have to write some script to extract the records, and it's not kind of very useful on the screen. So for instance, in this program, if I go to the customers, you will see, let me just quickly, I don't know the data that well. For instance, dates. This date was automatically formatted according to the picture in the dictionary. And one of the, so you got all the normal actions on a database. You can add the new records. You can change existing records, and I've got two ways of changing records. This is a form type, which uses edit in place in this manner. You will see if you are on a field, it shows you a lot of information at the bottom, what the size is, what the picture it's used. So when you edit a record here, you won't be able to add something illegal, for instance, in the date field. I'll just show you a short comparison with TopScan, so that you can get a feel for it. TopScan can currently, in Clarion 11, scan top speed files and Clarion DAT files. But in this, you can have any type of file, SQL files, in-memory files, over an IP driver, anything that a normal Clarion browse will support, you will be able to browse with this. The column width is dynamically calculated so that it will show a single number in the smaller column than a large string. You can also hide columns. Pictures, as I said, come from the dictionary. You can have locators, all the incremental locators, and then you can have filters. For instance, in this case, I've got about 1,061 records. If you look at the customer ID, I can set up a filter. Okay, I won't like that. Sorry. I would like to write a Clarion filter. So that I'm looking for only those clients. I can save this filter for later use, and it will only show those records. Then I've got column sorting, so I can say sort on customer name or on any fields, and also combinations like in a normal Clarion browse where you use this column sorting template. Okay, I've shown you the column sorting by column sorting, but you can also sort it by key. The keys that was created for that table, or also by record number. That was something that somebody requested at some time. While you're in this file, you can also look at other files. I can look at the country file at the same time. Let me go back to that. Okay. As I said, you can, when you update a record, you've got this form type of record, but you can change it to edit in place. So you want to change a lot of these to 2. Sorry. So, and you can also, when you're looking at this table, there's a lot of fields. What I do, if you scroll right, I do not scroll the left-hand column, because that's the ID column. So if you are here, you want to be able to have a look, which records are you busy with. When you set up this template, you can specify whether the updates on the record must be cascaded. You can set it to no, to yes, or to ask you when you do an update, whether changes should be cascaded. And that is the same with the delete. If you delete a record and there are child records and you've set cascade, it will delete the child records, because this thing has been built on the normal Clarion Browse class. Okay, then a very useful feature is what I call mass updates. You can have different set of mass updates. You can say just make this field equals true, and it can run through the whole database and change all of them. This filter, if I just want to filter again. So when you do a mass update, the changes will only apply to the records that you filtered. And you can do quite intelligent updates. For instance, I just want to copy something. Okay, you can do a mass update on different fields at the same time, but in this case I select one of them and I say if it's even, change that field to 4. If it's uneven, change it to 5. It's not necessarily a thing that you will do, but just to show you what it can do. So the field that I'm talking about is this delivery method ID column, which is all set to 3 at this stage. So it's 51 records that were changed, and you will see. So with that choose, you've got a kind of a if, and you can have long strings of Clarion commands. And with a choose, you can have a choose within a choose, if applicable. I use this a lot when clients make a general error. So I've had a case where they started posting invoices, but instead of invoices, they selected credit note. And then they carried on and entered a whole batch of credit notes which should have been invoices because the screen looks kind of the same. So with this option, I could isolate the records that were changed. I could change all the debit amounts to credit amounts. I could change the the transaction type from an invoice to or from a credit note to an invoice. And I just, in my system, I said recalculate the totals and everything was fixed. Otherwise, they would have gone back and firstly delete all those incorrect transactions and change them over to what it should have been. So I use that a lot, the mass updates. What I would like still to do is to do a mass delete, which I haven't put into the system yet. Okay. Yeah, you will see when you start with in one session, and the session means when you open this screen where you select the file, it will remember your previous size that you selected for this table. So I've made this full screen, so I'm going to change it back to the original screen. I just want to look up a number. Okay, as I said, I've got locators. There I'm on client number 832, and where the power really comes in is the following. I'm on client number 832. I want to see all his invoices. You will see there's 2 sets of files, and this is all relationships that have been set up in the dictionary. So this is one to many, so many invoices for the client. This is a lookup for instance, I can ask, in which city is this client? And it will show me the city. If I look at the invoices, there's all the invoices for this client. You can see on this customer ID, it's all number 832. But furthermore, I can say what items were on this invoice. And there they are. And now I can say which stock items were issued. And you say there's one too many, so it's the relationship. And you can even go back now, which won't make much sense. You can say, show me the invoice lines, and show me the invoice, and show me the customer, which don't make much sense, as I said. But you can go in any level down through the relationships. So your dictionary is very important, that you set up your dictionary correctly.
Is that your Clarion dictionary?
Yes, your Clarion dictionary. Okay, let me just go to my list again. Okay, you can export records. Again, everything that you do here, for instance, let me get filter it again. If you export records, you will export only that you filtered. And you've got 3 different options: CSV, XML, or JSON. I use this a lot. When I export my records to CSV, for instance, a filtered set of records, and I do some action in the program, and I would like to make sure was the correction made to the records. So I export the records to CSV, I do the change, I export again, and I use a utility to compare the records, and I can immediately see whether what I've done have been affected. What I haven't shown you as well is I can hide columns. Okay, unfortunately my choice was to show it differently than top scan. Top scan, you select the records that you want to see. In my case, you select the records that or the columns that you want to hide. So if I say select all, and I only want to see that, and that, for instance, I only see these columns. If I want to export, I only export what I've filtered and what I've made visible. So you don't need to look at all the fields. You can only see the fields that you want to check when you do export. Here's a kind of properties that you can see. What's the file name, the driver, the size in bytes, number of records, what's the filter that has been applied, what's the sort order, and it also shows you the size of the screen. Yeah, something that's important, whatever font you put on this screen will filter through to all the subscreens. So your convention in your program will be applied to all the screens down the line. As I said in the beginning, I put this inside my program. The reason for that is if you put it externally, and especially if it's SQL, then you must make provision to give the connection string again. So I put it in the system, in my program, in my utilities menu, but I determine who can have access to it. You don't want anybody to just go in there, change records, delete, whatever. So you must apply your, if it's sequin or whatever you use, apply that to that function. Say this function can only be done by this user. Yeah. And since you put it into your system, if you compile your program, you don't have to wonder, must I compile the standalone program that contains this functionality? What I do in a multi-DLL program, I put this in my data DLL. So it's available throughout my system, and I export it so that it's available from anywhere in my program. So what it cannot do, it can't, like top scan, you can't point it at a file and say list a file. It works from the basis of what's in the dictionary, and it can show any type of file, as I said. If I've got enough time, I'll quickly show how to implement this and how easy it is to do. Okay, let me quickly do that. Okay, here I've got a framework that haven't got any of that functionality. They have got a wizard created browse, and that's all. So there's a few steps, but there's a manual that describes the process. So the first thing is to add a global extension. Okay, here you can say whether it should ask confirmations for savings and changes, cascading yes, no, or ask. This is specifically, this virtual restore header text. That was something that I found if you've got lots of columns in the ABC classes. There's a method that makes the browse quite slow. So I had to change it in the ABC class, just put a virtual parameter to that method, and then I do it in my system, which makes it quite faster. I've tested this with a dictionary with at least 1,000 columns, and that's where it becomes apparent when you've got that many columns. You can give an initial size for your windows. I like this, for instance. Another important thing that I skipped is you can say, must it apply to all your tables in the dictionary, or only the tables that the app uses? I prefer to do it in that way, but you can still exclude some files from this, files that you don't want a user ever to be able to look at. Then I must import the TXA. I must put it on the menu. There's two optional parameters. What's this thing? Sorry, seemed to be a wrong. You can, if you call this procedure, you can give it a specific table name, and the second parameter is a filter. So you can do that from code. You can call this browse any table, giving it a table name and a filter, and it will bypass that first screen where you select the table. And then to make Bruce happy, I'll change the font. Oh, what if I don't know? What's wrong with that? Oh, I've used double quotes. Where do I come? Where do I come from? That was, oh, sorry, that was quite a. Oh, have I wasted all this time? Sorry, I've closed the thing without saving. Okay, something else that I forgot. In this case, I have to say generate for all files. Oh, what? Sorry.
The pressure, Hendrik, the pressure, eh?
Yeah.
Memory. Members. Programming is a spectator sport. Clean it, yeah. Clean the station.
How do I do this every time?
Still open.
Okay, yeah, that's that one change that I forgot. How do I do that? Okay, I think I forgot the font stuff, but is it again? So there I've got a relation from countries to states to cities.
Have you tried to delete a record? Just one cascading.
I beg your pardon?
Can you try?
Wait for the mic so we can check mine.
I think we know by now.
Thank you. Can you try to delete a record? Just want to see cascading how it works.
Okay. So if we delete
The parent, any parent record?
Alabama,
Customer maybe. So it's cascading is.
okay, this
Not
might be
working.
something that's put
Yeah.
in the in the dictionary. Yeah, I should have chosen something simpler because I assume that that may be used in for instance, in a customer or invoice record. So that's why it's not allowed in this case.
Actually, cascading means when you delete parent, it will delete parent and everything in the database. Child, all the childs.
Yes, but
No,
it may be
you have
that that
relations.
child record is accessed from another parent record, so you can't.
Oh, it's a recursive maybe relation. That's why.
I beg your pardon?
Is it maybe recursive relation? Because actually cascading mean you delete parent and it will go every child table and
Yes,
it removes.
yes, I understand. But
Yeah,
yeah,
okay.
I'm not sure
Oh, okay.
in the SQL database whether there's other restrictions
Okay.
that don't apply here.
Second thing, the browse, when we take the virtual header tags, what it actually does, like why browse is slow? Like I haven't seen the paging browse like.
Okay,
even
yeah, you won't see, it depends on the number of columns. I've seen it when I stress test this thing and uses 1,000 columns. That procedure that I put the virtual at, it's called, as far as I'm concerned, unnecessary by the ABC classes. It's specifically to correct when you do a column sorting, it adds the plus or the minus to the heading, and that procedure they run it a lot
Yeah,
of
it
times
refreshes.
just to fix that way it don't need to be fixed.
Yeah, okay.
And I've took that out, and I also found that if you do single properties of a list box column, it also is very slow. So what I've done is to build up the whole property string for that column, and I add it at once, and that makes it a lot faster. Something else that can be an influence on the speed. If you open the file, if you look at the bottom, it says size in bytes question mark. I found that if you issue the bytes or size command for a SQL file, it can be slow depending on the physical size of the file. Whereas with top speed, it's immediately. I assume that value is inside the file's header, so it can give it to you immediately. So what I've done is, if I see it's SQL, I don't show it. But if you go to that information thing and you go back, you will see it now show the size and the number of records. Yeah, and the record length. Yeah. So that was to speed up the display. Okay. I think, am I out of time? Okay.
We need to know where people can get it and how much.
Oh, sorry, yes. Okay. It's on Clavin Shop. It's $150, but for the next weeks it's $125. Okay. Just wait for me to update Clavin Shop. It hasn't been changed yet.